Hello, this is Bishop J.C. Mendez, and today we're talking about the impact of ICE, the immigration enforcement agencies are having in our Hispanic community. The narrative out there is that ICE is only targeting Hispanic communities, and it's having a real impact in our community. But perception is reality, as we say, and the media is doing a very good job of creating a very negative narrative and perception for our community, and as a result, many people are living in fear. They don't want to send their children to school. They don't want to go to work, and it's a very sad situation that the people that are in control of the media are sending a message out there of fear, and that's having a very negative impact in our community. Welcome, David Hernandez, to our show, the Church Today. My question to you is, as a community of faith, whether you're a lay person or ordained, when fear and uncertainty grow because of this race, how should the church respond?
Well, I think initially we do have to acknowledge its presence and the ramifications of a fearful population. I live in the San Fernando Valley, and we have the soccer fields over in North Hollywood, and for 4 blocks, it's beautiful soccer fields. And during the week or the weekends, you can't find parking anywhere. It was filled with soccer teams along the sidelines, filled with families. And when the ICE raid started, within a week, there was no one there. Even on a Saturday and Sunday, there was the parking. There was no cars parked at the curb. There wasn't a soul on the soccer fields. So we have to acknowledge that, yes, it is present. What to do about it? I guess we have to determine what is real, what is perceived, and who is benefiting by perpetrating so much fear within the community. We've also seen many individuals that are afraid to go to work. We have a friend in the recycling business. Many of his customers are individuals, hardworking Hispanics that are out doing recycling. You'll see them in their pickup trucks going along through the neighborhoods, picking up discarded refrigerators and different things, and picking up metal. Well, that business is down dramatically. Mm-hmm. Because individuals are afraid.
But also, David, I look at other economic factors like inflation. Mm-hmm. Here in the state of California, we have high taxes. The price of gasoline is very high in the state of California. Maybe if you're watching us from other states in the United States, the price of gasoline in your state is probably much less than it is here in California.
Half.
And we have rising operational costs as a result of the price of gasoline, because it takes more money to drive the trucks that bring the goods.
Yeah.
And we look at the price of electricity here in California is very high. We look at the price of natural gas is very high.
And water too.
In water and trash pickup. I mean, all the different services that are provided for us, they're much higher than most states in the union.
Well, and a big factor is taxes, because in other states they're seeing gasoline at maybe $2.50 a gallon.
Right.
Well, the price of gasoline in California has dropped. However, the taxes on the gasoline have increased. So we are not seeing the decrease in the price of gasoline, because it is being backfilled with the increased taxes. California has a gasoline tax that, for whatever reason, the voters decided not to repeal it. Well, that was a progressive tax that went up every year. So this July, well, gas prices were going down, our taxes increased. So we don't get to see.
But Trump doesn't have anything to do with that.
No, that's Newsom. That's the state.
That's the governor of California that is forcing all these high taxes on us.
And what does this tax money go for? Not for the roads. I mean, I heard the traffic report coming here. There's a 10-inch pothole on the 10 freeway, or the 110 freeway, or there's the infrastructure is crumbling. So where is all of this revenue that's coming in going? Well,
plus when we renew our registration for our vehicles, where's all that money going to?
The high-speed rail project. There's where, especially now that the federal government is cutting off federal funds to the train to nowhere, and
how many miles did they build?
Of track? None.
And how many billions?
What's $110 billion already?
On no tracks.
Yeah, no tracks. They've got these high-rise concrete things that probably go less than a half a mile, but the funding that we're getting for transportation is going there. And so meanwhile, our freeways and our highways are crumbling, our bridges are unsafe, and so the rise of taxes, and each time there's a crisis, there is a bond measure.
But it seems, David, that all these issues that are with the state of California trickle down to the county of Los Angeles and whatever county, all the 58 counties in the state of California. And then those counties, they trickle to the cities. And those cities have a direct impact in our families. But I know that some of the families lost their employment because of the fires in the Palisades, because we had a lot of Latinos who worked as nannies, as gardeners.
Yeah, in the service industry.
In the service industry in the Palisades. And this has a direct impact on our...
Sure. What was like over 7,000 homes and businesses burnt? How many have been rebuilt? Less than, the construction has begun on probably less than 50. And they're talking about all of the different permits that have been issued, but a lot of those permits were for the same house. And so and
those were some of the permits that were already in progress.
Yeah. And so we're faced with it wasn't a natural disaster.
No, it wasn't.
It was an arson, and then it was incompetence, and what we're finding
lack of
out
leadership.
More, lack of leadership, and now with the cover-up that has taken place, that the firefighters wanted to stay on the scene. There was the initial fire that was started by an arsonist. That fire was addressed. Yet the firefighters that were on the scene said, wait a minute, this is still warm. We can feel the heat from the tree stumps, and we can feel the rocks. It's still hot under there. And they were told, pull out. It's good enough. Why? Because the firefighter department's budget had been cut. They didn't want to spend money on overtime. They had limited resources as it was.
And how many engines? I know that you're very close to Mr. Assad, and Mr. Assad was telling us that there's like 70 fire engines that are sitting at the
waiting on parts.
Waiting on parts, and we can't fix those engines. And the engines that we had at the fire in the Palisades, those engines run on electricity. And if there's no electricity, the batteries die.
Right, and then when we look at the Department of Water, when you get your water and power bill, and you see it goes up all the time, and you start seeing all of these charges for sewage, for water, for not only water coming in, but the sewage coming out of your home, and electricity, and this fund and that fund and that fund, and all of a sudden your water bill is exorbitant. Yet here in the Palisades, you had a reservoir with millions of gallons of water capacity that was empty. because, quite frankly, they didn't have the $140,000 available to repair the cover up of the reservoir, so they left it empty right there in the Palisades. And the head of the
So this
LADWP
issue has nothing to do with immigration.
right, it has nothing to do with
But
immigration.
why do we blame everything on immigration, on the ICE raids? And we look at the collapsing economy, and we say, oh, it's President Trump. But I know for a fact that this has been going on for at least a decade,
Well,
David.
look at the amount of businesses that are leaving the state because of the crime. I mean, we saw these mobs take over the different malls and the different department stores and just stealing at random and nothing happening to them. And it got so out of control under the prior district attorney
Gascon,
that
yes.
when a ballot measure was put on the ballot, Prop 36, you had 10 million Californians vote for it.
And we had a sheriff that wanted to enforce the law,
Right.
but he wasn't getting along with the
Board of Supervisors.
Board of Supervisors, and he became a persona non grata for the Board of Supervisors because he wouldn't back down on enforcing the law.
No.
I mean, you have a district attorney who doesn't want to prosecute criminals. We have a sheriff that wants to arrest people. I mean,
And then here you have the Board of Supervisors. Well, before we get to that, they didn't have the money to repair the cover of the reservoir. That water was to be used for fighting fires. So what if they didn't have a cover on it?
mhm.
So it got bird poop in it. You could still use it for fighting fires. But the head of the DWP, who was being paid $750,000 a year,
Mhm.
twice as much as her predecessor, had a security detail that was costing the taxpayers over $400,000 a year.
But why does he need a security detail?
Well, she has a driver, her own private security guard. The DWP just gave her $15,000 increase for her security detail. So they didn't have money for the water or to fix the reservoir, but they had an additional $115,000.
But this is through the city of LA, right?
Right. This is this is a manager that was appointed by Karen Bass. Now, when you look at her objectives as far as the head of the DWP, it wasn't to make sure that the fire hydrants had water and that they were functioning and that we had our fire or that the DWP equipment was up to standard as
And
well.
the fire department having the right tools to fight fires.
Right. And so, in spite, and this is why we know LA is in trouble. In spite of all that has happened with regards to the DWP's failings with the Palisades fires, the LA Times gave her an award for Woman of the Year to
For
the
what?
head of the LA DWP. This was just recent. And it's like, just when we thought the LA Times was starting to get a little
Show
bit
some
more,
integrity.
yeah, and so that was something. But it's I don't believe that the city is in a position right now to bring us back to safety, because in spite of 10 million people, which is majority
Well,
Democrats,
we don't have law and order.
no.
We have an infrastructure that is collapsing. We have a fire department that needs a lot of equipment. They just appointed a new chief.
Well, but that new chief is already complaining about the texts and emails that are being leaked to the press about them abandoning the first fire. So he's not trying to justify or trying to explain why they let that fire smolder and then morph into the Palisades disaster.
What
He's
I'm
criticizing the media for reporting it.
What I'm trying to help our audience understand is that all these things that are happening in the city of Los Angeles have nothing to do with ICE.
No.
And yet, the media is out there saying that the reason Hispanic families are hurting is because of ICE. That the reason there are no jobs is because of ICE. And they want to blame President Trump for the chaos, for the economic disadvantages, and for inflation, and high taxes, and operational cost, and everything under the sun, when he's only been in office for 10 months and a half.
Yeah.
And so, dear people of God, you need to look at all the lies of the enemy. And remember, Jesus said that lies comes from Satan. And he's the author of confusion. And we as Christians, I wanted to get David's input on the Board of Supervisors at the county level, because we had 4 years of a district attorney who refused to prosecute any of the criminals for any reason. He just thought that we needed to give every criminal a lollipop and pat him on the back. That was his answer to everything. And then we had a sheriff at that time who wanted to arrest people and put in jail, but the district attorney just refused to do that. And then we had a board of supervisors who I don't know who they represent, but they certainly don't represent the interest of the community, because it just seems to me like they keep voting for policies that are anti-business, that are they keep saying democracy, but I don't see the democracy, David.
No.
I mean, it's anti-democracy.
No, and the anti-business environment has been going on. It's been a downward spiral from I've talked to business people, and each year they have to pay a tax on their equipment that they have, say, in their facility. So I had a friend that he sold cappuccino machines and ovens for pizzas, and all of his equipment, each piece of equipment he had to pay a tax on every single year. It's like, you paid a tax when you purchased it. So they're being very creative. They're being very creative because of their mismanagement, because of the way that the city invests pension funds. There is something called defined benefits, which is something that is being investigated now at the state level, because you had investors who took the pension money for state employees, and they started investing it in all of these new Green Deal venture startups. And they took a bloodbath. I think they lost like $300 million from their pension, over 40%. And because it's called defined benefits, the money that these investors lost has to be made up by the taxpayers. So there is a guarantee of a certain return on the investment. And when they fall short, the taxpayers have to pay it. So here we are in a state that is trillions of dollars in debt already. And now, because they're invested in questionable green
But didn't they lose about $250 million from the CalPERS?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. And so that's what they did. They invested in feel-good green companies.
But what's going to happen, David, with the investments of the California PERS?
Well, because they have
Public Employees Retirement System.
Because they have defined benefits, which means the shareholders, the employees, they have a guaranteed return on their investment. So it's like someone going to Las Vegas with their money, and they put it on the pass line at the crap table. They lose, and if it was somebody else's money, then the taxpayers have to go ahead and pay for it. So they're gambling with the pensioners' money, but it's the taxpayers who have to guarantee the return. So both the...
But this has nothing to do with President Trump.
This is nothing
to do with ICE. We're seeing, we were looking at a lot of empty stores. We were looking at a lot of trash all over the city. We were looking at a homeless situation. David and I have worked in this city for decades. As a matter of fact, I'll be celebrating 40 years of ministry on the 30th of November.
Amen.
And we're celebrating, with a big service to thank the Lord for 40 years of service. And many of those years, David and I have worked in this city in addressing a lot of the issues that we're confronting today. But this didn't start yesterday. This did start 10 and a half months ago when President Trump became president. This has been an ongoing problem. Now, what responsibility do the churches and faith leaders do we have to provide guidance, information, and spiritual support during this time?
Well, I think providing the truth, we could start there.
Very important.
And which means that we want to say no politics from the pulpit.
But it's not politics, because Joseph, was the governor of Egypt. Daniel was one of the governors in Persia,
right?
And David was a king, and so we see prophets were always welcome in the palace, right, because they confronted the king with the truth.
Well, I was going to say that, and that is why Joseph was chosen, because he had the courage to tell the truth. So pastors having the courage to tell the truth should be basic. Not trying to protect one particular party or one particular politician, whatever. But that's going to require some time to educate yourself on the different components of any particular crisis, whether it's the homeless, whether it's crime, whether it's whatever it is. There needs to be, and the internet today with all of the different social media platforms, it's a lot easier to go behind the headlines that we see on television and to look at the different components as to why a situation is the way that it is.
And that's important, David, because our families need to understand the true causes of this economic hardship.
Yep.
Most of our family are being misled by narrative to distract them from the deeper problems.
Yeah, if you don't know what the truth is or the root cause of a problem, how are you going to fix it?
But the Lord said the truth will set you free.
Yeah, well, it's going to set some people that are holding elected office free from their office. As more and more people realize, don't be influenced by a candidate or a politician that maybe has the same skin pigmentation as you, or that can speak the same language as you, or even is registered the same party as you. Don't be fooled by...
No, because their narrative is, if you're Latino, you need to vote this way. If you're black, you have to vote this way. If you're white, you vote this way.
Well, how has that worked out so far?
It hasn't.
Yeah.
Because their narrative is like, that certain parties own us.
Yeah.
I don't think that any party should own anybody.
No, that Emancipation Proclamation was...
to set us free.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the 14th Amendment and you look at the different things that have evolved through the history of this country to make us one of the most freest countries, on this planet.
Now, question for you. What hope, what message, and what path forward can we offer our audience who feel caught between immigration pressures and financial stability? Because we may have some people in the audience who feel compassion, empathy towards the Hispanic families that are suffering. And you may think that ICE is responsible for what's happening, and it's not. Here's two brown faces in front of you that can tell you that it's not about brown, black, green, orange, polka dot. It's not about the color of your skin, right? I mean, this is something that it's deeper than that.
I think wasn't that Martin Luther King saying, it's the content of your character, not the
color of your skin.
Not the color of your skin. But it seems like today there's more emphasis to put us in a box, whether you're Mexican, Guatemalan, Salvadorian.
Because not all Latinos are the same as well. Because
No.
you look at some of my cousins are blonde and blue eyes. And
Yeah,
so-
well, those are the only people that are on the novellas. You don't,
Yeah,
you don't see the indigenous.
Yeah, you don't see the indigenous people, but you know what? A lot of people are concerned today, and especially because the media is portraying the Hispanic community being the only ones that are suffering for immigration pressures and financial instability. And I want to remind you that it's not about race. And that the problems that many Latino families are facing are not because of ICE. It's because of the lack of leadership at the governor's level, the lack of leadership at the county level, the kind of leadership that we have in the city, the kind of leadership that has led us into this economic downfall. It's not about them. And people. We're blaming Trump for the government shutdown, but as you all saw, until the Democrats voted for it, that's when the government reopened. That means that they were the ones that were shutting the government down, not the Republicans, because when they voted for it, the government was able to reopen. But our hope is not in a political party. Our hope is in the Lord Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And as we approach Thanksgiving, I know that Thanksgiving is coming soon here in America. We have a lot to be thankful for. First of all, we should be thankful for salvation, for Christ coming to this earth to show us a path unto salvation. That's the first thing. Second, thank the Lord for your health. If you have your health, if you're out of a hospital, thank the Lord for that and pray for those that are suffering in a hospital. Many families will celebrate Thanksgiving at the bedside because they have a loved one in a hospital. Many loved ones will have an empty chair at their table because somebody has gone to be with the Lord. So we have a lot of things to be thankful for. And I pray that during the season that you see miracles that are bigger than the material belongings. I pray that God will give you strength for the journey. And I pray that you will pray for those people that are suffering so much more than you probably are. This is Bishop J.C. Mendez wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. God bless. Thank you.